Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pit Talk, pulling pits and opinions with your host, Gunny G, where service members help service members, period. Follow, like, subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts and on all social media platforms. Let me know how I'm doing. Any criticism is good criticism. Let's get into it. We got a special guest hailing in from Utah, Idaho, Montana.
Olathe, Kansas.
Kansas. I was pretty close. An old friend of mine, old head from way back when in Camp Pendleton, Drew Bradfield. Everybody, they give him a round of applause. Give him on that red. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And thank you for your service, Transition out of the Marine Corps. How was that?
It's had its ups and downs.
To say the least. Hey, go ahead and tell the listeners where you're from, how long you served, what you're doing now, and why you got out.
So I grew up in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I went to college in Missouri. I then did the stupidest thing you can do and joined the Marine Corps as an enlisted man after getting a college degree. I was turned 25 years old into boot camp, 9 days in, hoorah, Marine Corps kill. And my career took strange trajectory like most of my life, and I ended up at Outbound SEPs, where I met a hard-charging Lance Corporal Garcia, and I got injured, nothing crazy, cool, or exciting, and at the end of 4 years, I decided I didn't want to be an injured admin Marine. Instead, I wanted to strike out and figure out what else was left to do in the world, and I transitioned out and took a job in federal civilian service. Went back to school to get my Master's of Divinity and got ordained, and I'm now a minister and just doing good work here in Olathe, Kansas. At least I hope so.
Doing the Lord's work in Olathe?
Olathe.
Olathe. Oh, my God. Very well. Had that totally wrong. Olathe. That sounds like anyways. Oh, man, it's good to see you, Drew. It's been a while, huh?
Been a while. I think the last time I saw you was a going away celebration for a Corporal Cardilano, I think.
Mr. Andrew. Is it Andrew Cardilano? I think it's Cardilano. Andrew, right? I think it's Andrew.
I don't know.
I don't even know his first name.
Corporal last name.
Still indoctrinated, huh?
Yeah, I'm bad. My wife knows all the first names. I still call everyone by their last name.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thoroughly indoctrinated devil dog. You were a hard charger, though. I'll tell you what. You were professional, firm, and fair when you got promoted. And I'll tell you what. Your looks were deceiving. You outran me really good. I think you ran a 20-minute when I first encountered you?
I averaged a 20-minute on the PFT, and I got a perfect CFT a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, I was struggling trying to get a 22, and there you go, running with your big, stupid calves. I remember that.
They're not as big as they used to be. They're still pretty good.
Oh, man. Doing some little stair steppers, huh? I see you.
Squats. You got to do those squats.
Oh, man, you look great, man. It's good to see you. Thank you for taking the time to come on. We're obviously short on time because of technical difficulties, but I got to get you in anyways, either way. Look, it's been a while. I would love to chop it up with you, and that's what we're going to do here. Let me ask, how was the transition for you way back when in 2000? Well, it's 2010, so it'd have been 4 years, 2014-ish, 15?
2014. Yeah, I went on terminal leave in May of 2014. I was out hitting the pavement, trying to find jobs in the Kansas City area because I'd been accepted to school out here, and I just could not find what I was looking for. So I ended up taking a position with the federal government in Mission Viejo, California, at the Social Security office, making very little pay, at least California dollars. But I did end up going back to school at the same time. My wife found a really good once-in-a-lifetime job out there, and we, a couple of years in, bought a house, kept getting involved in our church out there, and just kept doing stuff. In fact, for about 4 years, from 2016 to 2020, when I moved to Kansas, we helped run a ministry for transitioning service members out in California, helping them with resume building, job connections. We dealt with personal counseling. Marines, they have a lot of alcohol abuse, domestic violence. things like that. Our job was to help Marines go from that place to a new place, and it was pretty rewarding work. So,
Wow. Dude, that's awesome. And God called you to, you said Kansas, right?
he called me. I took a new civilian position out in Kansas. I worked for a new federal agency. But then there was a church in my denomination out here that the pastor's a little bit older. He wanted someone younger. I guess I'm younger than him, so I count. And
Yeah.
I've been just doing that work here now.
That's awesome, man. It's good. It's good that, you're fulfilling your calling, at least doing the Lord's work. And I appreciate that. How was that though in the Marine Corps? You really didn't, you were professional, firm but fair, but how did that take a toll on your spirituality with you and your wife and just the whole thing?
Yeah. So when I met my wife, she was a little bit older than me. She was about 6 years older. I thought she was younger because she was beautiful and
God.
energetic. She thought I was older because I had a nice, big, long beard, Marine Corps. And no, the first year we were married was great because we only saw each other 13 days. I was assigned to an infantry unit. I got to see her a couple times in between trainings. And then the second year was so terrible that we thought we were probably going to get divorced. And a lot of people in my chain of command said, yeah, you should just divorce her. It's easy. And send her back home. And I said, no, I don't think that's how it's supposed to work. We're Christians. That's not good advice. And we went and found a good pastor who worked us, with us and helped us out. And basically, what it came down to is Lance Corporal Bradfield was not allowed to come in the front door after a long day of work. I
Mm.
actually took off my whole uniform before I walked in every evening. And we kept that rule through my first year in outbound SEPs, where we were working 80 to 100 hours a week for some unknown reason. Thanks to some motivated staff sergeant and gunnies we had there during the drawdown. And yeah, no, but it was interesting being a Marine, and being married to a Marine's tough. Women who stay faithful to Marines, that's a big deal. It's easy to walk away from that lifestyle. And the transition out's not easy either. Stepping out of a set paycheck, housing allowance, the benefits you get, the family, the kind of friends you make into a whole new world, that was difficult too. And so I give a lot of credit to my wife for staying faithful to our marriage and walking that out.
And how did you, you talk about helping other service members, and that's what this podcast is about. Is just in general, service members helping service members, as a little intro said. Period. You did that a lot. You went back to the brotherhood and you helped Marines with that, with those mental health issues. And how did that correlate full circle?
So prior to joining the Marine Corps, I had some addiction and alcohol issues myself before joining, and I had all that sorted out before I stepped foot on the yellow footprints. And so seeing how easy it is to fall into that lifestyle and how encouraged Marines are to depend upon alcohol, especially as a way to handle their problems. When I got out, I actually met a couple of guys who were former Marine Corps officers, Naval Academy graduates, and they said, "Hey, we're looking to help Marines. What can we do?" And I said, "Hey, these young Marines need mentors and role models. And if you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to help you get in contact with those guys." And we did that for about 4 years. We probably helped 36 guys total who sought out our services, and several of them have gone on. One of them is pre-med right now. We have another guy of ours who ended up getting back in the Army. I forgive him, but he's now an Army officer. He's a motivated major. And so, just helping guys figure out what they need to do with their life at the end of a 4 or 5 year enlistment. It's really rewarding. Not every story is a success story, but you take the wins where you get them.
Absolutely, that's very mature of you, Drew. Given that you're 10 years older than me, that's very mature of you. I'll tell you what, man. First duty station, even me, I wasn't mature at all, right? I was 21, 22 almost, right? Coming in and married with 2 kids. Boy, what I was not ready for. My goodness. I tell you what, my bad decision making, along with those stupid hours that we work for no reason, thanks to Master Gunner Sean Carrillo, who is still in, by the way, and Gunny Dominguez, who retired early. He's out in Florida. Remember Gunny, what is it, Flamenco? I don't know if you were there for that guy.
He
And
left right as I got in,
what's that?
but I
What's
wasn't
the?
going to use their names. But
Oh, I'll use them. And then what's his name? Staff Sergeant or Gunny Kohoff? Is that what it was?
I think he got out as a gunny,
Yeah, he
maybe.
retired as a gun. I think it
And
was the
then
last one. And
Staff Sergeant Z.
Zarate, that's the one. Oh boy, coming off recruiting, dude.
But
I
things
remember
things
that,
had
dude.
calmed down a little bit by the time Gunny Koloff and Staff Sergeant Z got around.
Yeah,
Although
yeah,
Staff
yeah.
Sergeant may be a gunny by now himself, or
Yeah,
even
that's
retired. I don't know.
retired. I don't even know. I should probably look those guys up. But yeah, those guys freaking the Gunny Dominguez and Master Guns Carrillo. Remember Gunny Beard? Were you there for Gunny Beard?
I knew him. Yep.
Master Gunner Sergeant Beard now. I think he's retired out of Okinawa here pretty soon. Hey, thank you for your service. You definitely taught us some good things, and then definitely worked some long hours just because sometimes. You remember it was, hey, if we work through chow, we'll go home early.
Yeah, every chow. If you work through every chow, you'll go. Those half days, those 12-hour days, were really precious to my wife.
You remember we would go into PT 05, 06 ish, and then get that hour.
My crew would be coming off.
Yeah,
because we had a night crew and a day crew for some ungodly reason.
I remember, but night crew was fun. It was a good time. It was very peaceful at times. No hustle and bustle. Just work.
Just work. Now that is the benefit. You guys didn't have to deal with all the Marines and officers coming in.
Yeah,
so you could just crank out those DD-214s for us.
Yeah,
and then we could go through and find the 1,000 errors on every one of them because you're working at 4:00 in the morning.
Oh boy, I'll tell you, half asleep going. Yeah, dude, good times though, huh?
I mean, honestly, I am still really close friends with several people and decent friends with Marines that we met and worked with there. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. Outbound SEPs, running those hills. I remember my first day stepping on deck. I just transferred from an infantry unit, and I'm a little frumpy. I'm old. I got a muffin top, and all these guys are looking at me like pathetic, worthless Marine. Other language I won't use. I don't use that language anymore. And we hit those hills, and I remember that second mile in, I just ran to the front and never left. People falling out left and right by mile 5, and those corporals so stinking mad that I would not stop running.
Hell yeah, I remember too. I mean, you look, don't never. This is where the token phrase "Don't judge a book by its cover" came in and was created. That was you, man. That was you. Hey, more power to you. You were definitely a hard charger. I remember. Good times though. Good times. Created long lasting relationships, right? And well deserved.
The brotherhood of the Marine Corps is real.
Yeah, absolutely, man. How did you transition out? You talk about service members helping service members, and you did that full circle, and then you transitioned to Candace. What are you doing now?
So I have a federal job. I actually work in human resources, benefits, and retirement, doing the exact same thing we did at Outbound SEPs for federal civilian employees, which is terrible to think about. But and then I'm a minister. So I'm an assistant minister at Church of the King in Olathe, Kansas. And we're a small congregation, part of the Charismatic Episcopal Church. We fall into the historic stream of the church, so we dress in weird outfits and have incense and bells and all that good stuff. And but no, it's really rewarding too, being a minister, sitting next to people in some of the tenderest moments of their life, marriages, funerals, baptisms, weddings. It's a real joy to be a part of people's lives and be invited into that space when they need you.
That's awesome, man. How do you continue to give back? Obviously, you're helping federal civilian employees, but how do you continue to give back to service members now that you're in that local area? There's probably none in your area, is there?
Well, Leavenworth is an Army base. I think most of us are familiar with that. It's not too far away. And we do have a lot of veterans in our area. A lot of people in Kansas serve. We're part of the country where that's still kind of a family thing. My dad, my granddad, my great-granddad served. I'm going to serve. So there have been opportunities here and there. It's not my main mission anymore.
Yeah.
But when I come across a Marine or a soldier, a sailor, an airman, my wife and I try to go out of our way to let them know that we care, whether it's buying a meal for a guy, saying thank you for your service, taking an extra 10 minutes at the grocery store when you see that guy in a cap saying, hey, I served here. Where were you? Those opportunities mean more than we realize sometimes. So we try to take our when those opportunities arise, we want to take advantage of them the best we can.
And they're opportunities, divine opportunities. I think your steps are ordered in God's will, right? I would say that those steps are divine for sure, on purpose, and for you to take the time, because people are the center of gravity and relationships run the world. And sometimes how we treat others really resonate and have a long lasting impression. Obviously, for obvious reasons, you have those long lasting relationships, good or bad, from our first duty station together. And it benefited you in the long run. I mean, I would say, and is that a fair point?
Yeah, I never, in my mind, joining the Marine Corps is exactly what I needed to do at the time in my life when I did it. There's so many benefits I've gotten from my service, from people. I have a VA loan on my house. I got my master's degree through the GI Bill. Long lasting relationships. Some of the people I spend time with here through the Legion or the VFW are some of my good buddies, where we play cards together or go to concert together or whatever we're doing. Those relationships matter too.
That's good, man. I'm glad that you're still involved at a very small level, but small, whether it's small or big, it's still a long lasting impression on others around you. And again, you're doing the Lord's work out in Kansas. I got to ask though, spirituality, how is I know it's been a while, but I don't think it's changed at all since you've gotten out. And I only speak from experience. Spirituality is not a really big and that's not really a big at the forefront of service members across the board. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in the Marine Corps, I probably did not take advantage of the opportunity to be a witness for my faith as much as I should have. But there's a fine line. I was trying to be the best Marine I could be, and being the best Marine you can be sometimes negates being the best Christian you can be. Maybe it shouldn't, but it often does. So, as a Christian, someone who believes in the historic teachings of the church, it was hard to navigate at times. It's hard to navigate just a normal life. So, especially in uniform, that's difficult. And I just encourage people, if you are a believer, or even if you're just searching for deeper meaning, find guys who do believe and spend time with them. Even if you're not a Christian, sometimes those guys will give you a path forward. And that's really what life is about sometimes. It's just taking the next step, right? Being a Marine in boot camp is just about the next thing you do, the next thing you do, and the next thing you do. And then eventually you go to chow or you go to sleep and you get up and you do it all over again. And in the fleet, it's the same thing. Put one foot in front of the other. Don't fall out. Just keep moving. Eventually, you're going to stop the hike. You're going to stop the run. They're going to let you off duty so you don't have to do another DD 214. And that's what life is about, too. And finding people who have purpose, even if you don't believe everything they do, can sometimes be all the thing you need to make it to the next day.
That's good, Drew. Was it peer pressure, so to speak? Was it situationally based why you couldn't, or why we couldn't really express? There's obviously the fine line, right, in the uniform of preaching to others, right? But was it harder to set the example in terms of being a man of faith Christian?
Yeah, I mean, I just can speak for myself. For me, I believed in being a Marine oftentimes more than being a Christian. That's what it comes down to. I
Wow.
wanted to be a good Marine to the best of my ability, and there were a lot of times where that was more important than being a Christian. Looking back, it shouldn't have been, but as a 26-year-old, it was. And so that's the decision I made. And as a now 39-year-old, I look back and say, well, that was a bad decision. But I can't change it. I can just be the best version of me I can now. And that means putting my faith before everything else. Whereas as a 26-year-old, sometimes being a Marine was way more important than being a Christian.
Interesting.
So
That's fair. That's
and that's
fair.
the truth.
How do you if you were to, and we can't go back, time is precious. We can only take advantage of the quality time that we have with our loved ones now. Tomorrow's not promised, and yesterday's long gone. But as we look and reminisce on things that we've done, well, yeah, some of us have regrets. Some of us, it hits deeper than others. But provide some insight here. We got to think, well, what are the ones that are doing it now, and how what are the tools that we can provide them now? Look, man, this is probably some you shouldn't do. Put your faith before anything else. Give them a tool for their toolbox in terms of that situation, that scenario you provided.
Yeah, right now at my age, it's easy for me to say, look, when I evaluate a situation, I need to understand, how do I approach that as a Christian first? How do I love God and love others before all else? As a Marine, I often didn't. I approached the question, how can I get people to do what needs to be done?
Uh,
Right? Whatever it takes, the mission comes before the man. And that's not how Christians are supposed to think. So the biggest tool I can give you is think like a Christian. Don't think like a Marine. Act like a Marine's supposed to act, but think like a Christian. And that'll take you farther than anything else will.
that's true. That's good, man. Get in the good news, the gospel, and everything for life is in there. All the answers you're looking for in life are in there, and that's why they call it the good news. You know what I'm saying? That every scenario you can think of, from adultery to murder, is in there. But also the biggest thing is what? Redemption. If God was a lie, then redemption wouldn't be a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, honor, courage, and commitment. All right, those are the watchwords. I don't know if they still are, but when I was in, that's what the boot camp was about: honor, courage, and commitment. Those are not in competition with the Christian faith. Now, how you interpret honor, courage, and commitment in a uniform where Gunny and Master Sergeant and some lieutenant is telling you that you need to do things that are crazy or obscene, or encouraging you to drink to solve your problems, or divorce your wife, or any number of other bad advice you'll get
Yeah, yeah.
in the Marine Corps, drop that out of your mind. Honor, courage, and commitment from a Christian perspective, right? Redemption, forgiveness, giving someone a second chance. And I did do that at times. There were moments as a corporal, like that beloved corporal of Marines, where I could have ruined a young Marine's career. And instead of maybe doing what the guidebook told me to do, I just took the bottle of liquor out of the barracks room and threw it away. Right? Instead of writing that Marine up and putting it in the record, I counseled them on the side and said, you're going to come with me and I'm going to mentor you for a few extra sessions in between duty. Right? So there's tools in our toolbox that we can use, you can use as a Marine, I can use in my everyday life. We don't have to follow every rule in the rule book to get the mission done. And I can say that as a civilian. Maybe Gunny, you need to walk a little bit finer line, but we need to think about what is best for the person before we think about what's in the rule book.
Well, that's good. Okay. People are the center of gravity. I mean, it resonates with me because I think about a story. Chaps, Redmond, if you can hear me, if you're listening, Stan the Man is what they call him, about his lineage in service in the Navy. And long story short is everybody will forget what you did, forget how you performed, but they're going to remember how you treated them. And that has a long lasting impression on people's lives, and how you live your life matters. So that's definitely resonates with everybody, man. As you talk about it, you say it resonates. That's good gouge. I got to ask though, you're 39 years old, been married for quite a bit now. You got 2 dogs, as we spoke earlier. You still talk to some of the dudes, some of the guys from the first duty station. But I got to chop it up with you, man. How have you been? How do you miss it? Do you miss wearing the uniform sometimes? Do you regret? Not regret, but do you second guess why you got out at the time?
I don't second guess. I know joining was the right decision, and I know getting out was the right decision for me. But yeah, I miss it. I miss the uniform. I miss being a Marine, especially when I'm talking to guys who are still in, seeing what they've done with their career, hearing their stories. I miss it. I mean, how can you not miss getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and running 10 miles and then taking a 5-minute shower with a bunch of dudes and putting on this fancy uniform and then grueling and screaming and yelling for 4 hours before you shove a burrito down your throat in 2 minutes and then do it again for another 8 hours? I mean, it sounds miserable, but honestly, at the end of the day, when we got released at 1800, 1900, 2000 sometimes, and then you spend 15, 20 minutes chilling with, guys and gals when I was with the admin unit. Because when I was in my infantry unit, it was still segregated,
Yep.
all male. Um, those moments, they matter. And there are Marines I've ran across who I haven't spoke to in years who've sent me messages years after that and say, hey, Bradfield, I don't know if you remember, but that 15 minutes in the smoke pit when you were just sipping down water and I was smoking my nasty cigarette and you were telling me about what I needed to do next, in my life. I took that to heart and now I'm doing XYZ. I just really appreciate it's like, man, I don't remember that at all. But if it had an impact on your life, praise be to God. I'm so glad I gave you advice that worked for you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, man. What do you still talk? You said you still talk to some of the dudes that got out. How do you compare your transitions to theirs?
I don't think we should compare ourselves too much.
The
Every
tra-
person's
the
journey is
tra-
different,
the transition, you
but
weirdo.
every journey is different. But I'll say this: I have guys who you would look at them in uniform and think, "How is that guy a Marine?" Like, good Lord, what is wrong with that guy? Why is he a turd? Obviously, probably using language a little bit harsher. And now that they're out, they've taken things they've learned in the Marine Corps and they are just thriving. They are doing all the right things. They have wife, they have kids, they're doing great. And you're like, man, the Marine Corps did something to them, even if they weren't able to be a really good Marine at the time. And then there are other guys who were fabulous Marines, and you're like, why did they ever get out? And they've struggled. They've had
Yep.
a lot of problems because what they got in the Marine Corps, they haven't been able to replicate in, the real world. And, you have to sympathize with those guys and you have to say, hey, it's all right. Your struggles are valid.
Yeah.
The Marine Corps gives you something that you will never get anywhere else in life.
I think that's across the board as well. The idea is across the board with all services and all branches. I think that it gives you something that is long lasting, right? But let's peel that onion back. You talk about the dudes that are great and struggle to get out, and the dudes that are subpar and they're doing great. Let's find the happy medium here. What is that they're struggling with? Why is it so? Why is it not generalized across the board? Why is it left or right?
Yeah, I can tell you for me why my transition was easier than a lot of guys who maybe you think should have had easier transitions. I'm a I'm a member of a church. I had a community of people around me who were on the same journey. We have a lot of the same ideals. We're doing things together in life. We have that fellowship, that camaraderie. It's not as deep. It's not the same as the Marine Corps, but it's similar. We have a shared purpose, a shared vision, a shared mission. And when guys lose that, they get out of the Marine Corps and they don't replace it with something in the civilian world. They struggle. And a lot of guys who maybe are subpar Marines are able to keep something like that in the civilian world, in that transition. And it just grows over time. And that's, I think, is the key difference. Finding a purpose for yourself. You don't have to believe everything I believe. I'm a Christian. There's a lot of things I believe about the world that maybe you will never accept. I pray one day you will, but I have friends who haven't.
Yeah.
But they were able to find a purpose and do something bigger with themselves after they got out. And that's the fundamental thing you have to find when you transition. It could be your family, could be your faith, could be your community. It might be as simple as going down to the Legion or VFW and signing up and saying, I still want to be around guys I've been with. Whatever it takes, find that purpose. It'll be the biggest difference in your life.
Man, that's facts. That kind of goes into my last question for you, but you kind of You already touched it there. You burst that bubble real quick. Service members that struggle with mental health, and then a lot of them that transition out, have that anxiety, depression outside of the uniform, not really during. And I mean, it's coming out more that's during, right? But a lot of them that deal with it, and pay that ultimate sacrifice, and they consider things they shouldn't consider. And we talk about SI, and you touch that, they lose purpose, right? They found identity in the service, and it's great because they're 18, they're 19, they're young, impressionable individuals, and they were like, man, this is great stuff. And then they get out, they lost purpose. But if you had purpose prior to, if you had a higher calling, whatever that higher calling is, it would have been an easy transition for you. And I think that's a good tool to have in terms of struggling with mental health. Find purpose, whatever that purpose is. And I would hope that it would be, Christianity. We would hope that it'd be believing in God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, and what he did for us, and redemption and grace and mercy and forgiveness, all the good stuff, all the good news. We would hope that that would be it. But if it's not, at least find purpose, whatever that purpose is. Please lean into
Whatever
that.
helps you get out of bed and taking that next step. That's what I want now. There's lots of other things I want for you later, but I just need you to get out of bed and take your first step.
That's good. Drew, you are an amazing man. You look, you haven't aged a bit. You haven't, I don't even think you've gained any weight, maybe.
No, I've got gray hair for sure. Trust me. It's there.
Dude, it's been a long time coming. I apologize for being a bad Marine in terms of communication, but I was talking to a dude, Abe, who just retired after 30 years. Golly, gosh darn, that's crazy.
That's a career.
He said, Marines got to go. Marines are still doing the work, and nobody calls you anymore. And it's kind of surreal. And I kind of fell into that status quo, and I apologize. I won't do that anymore. I'm glad that you didn't change your number. I'm really glad that I got in contact with you. It's good to hear from you. It's good that you're doing well.
If you're ever out in Olathe, Kansas, or anywhere nearby, we'll put you up in a hotel room and show your family around to some Kansas City barbecue.
Hey,
this is a barbecue I grew up with near Texas, but it's okay.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. Where can they reach you at, man? Because this has been sound. This has been great. This has been good to rekindle something that was lost in transition, right? Where can they reach you at if they want to know more about Drew, the Deacon Special?
So, if you want to reach out to me, I'm on Facebook as Drew Bradfield. I'm part of Church of the King in Olathe, Kansas. On the website, I'm listed as one of the ministers. My church email is listed. And then honestly, anyone can reach out to me at andrew.w.bradfield@gmail.com. I still field questions from people in California all the time. And if I can't help them, I try to refer them to where I think they can get some help. That's
awesome. Hey, look, everybody that's listening, there you go. There's your point of contact. There's your follow-on transition communication with Andrew Bradfield. But I got to say, you're doing a great job. You're doing the Lord's work. I appreciate you. There's no hate or discontent, man. It's awesome to talk to you. You look great, by the way. I don't see no gray hairs. The video's doing a solid job making you look young. But dude, let's chop it up. Where you been at all my life, dude? Who are you still talking to?
I still hang out with Martinez from Outbound Steps. I've connected with Nelson, if you remember Nelson.
Freaking nerd. Is it Thomas Nelson? I remember Nelson.
Thomas Nelson. He's doing great things in the world. He's got a wife and kids.
Awesome.
He was a journalist for a little while, and now he's doing some communications work out in the world. My buddy Martinez he actually works repairing airplanes. So somehow we're kind of in adjacent industries now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And and there's a few other guys I stay in touch with on social media from my infantry unit. But yeah, it's a crazy world. That brotherhood of Marines, by the way, is really small. And veterans, I have a good friend of mine at church who's much older than me. He's a Vietnam veteran. But our shared experience in uniform, as different as it is, different ages, has bonded us in a way that makes no sense from the outside. 39-year-old and a 78-year-old chopping it up, playing cards, chilling. People are like, how are those two friends? Well, we're brothers, bro. Like, you don't get it.
You don't get it.
You weren't part of it.
Yeah, no, it's facts. You're not part of it. We can say that at least. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I wish that I should probably, I say service members helping service members, past or present, right? I should probably reach out to the community out here and see what's ticking, what's moving out here. Drew, thank you for your time, man. I appreciate your time. It's precious. I'll let you get back to what is it, Saturday for you?
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday for you. Like it's like you're overseas or some. Say hi to the wife and the dogs for me. If you need anything, you got my number. You're on my Rolodex. I'm gonna ping you every once in a while, buddy. Check. You know what I'm saying? It's always a sanity check for everyone. If you ever need anything, let me know. Within my means, I will definitely help you out. And then shoot me Thomas's Nelson's point of contact. I don't know if I have it or not.
I will.
And if you know Cardellano, if you have him on social media, shoot him my information or vice versa. I would love to talk to them, get them on the show just to chop it up. You know what I'm saying? What's life got to do with anything? You know what I'm saying?
I hope you're still playing basketball. So since you thought you were good back in the day.
Ish, right? I still play basketball every once in a while, probably once a week now. It's not as heavy as it used to be in California and in Japan. It was heavy in Japan. My wife says I'm too old. And yeah, if I go too hard, the knees hurt, the hips hurt, and I'm struggling for 3 days.
ACL, you got a few more years left for retirement.
Look, that's a VA claim. All right, stop playing. If I tear it, it's not on purpose, ladies and gentlemen. It's by accident, but it does help me in the long run. Thanks, Drew. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pit Talk, pulling pits and opinions with your host, Gunny G, where service members help service members, period. Past or present. Follow, like, subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts and on all social media platforms. Let us know how we're doing. Any criticism, my friend Drew Bradfield, the Deacon, doing the Lord's work out in Kansas. Thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, we out.
Talk is a podcast featuring active service member to discuss their thought and opinion on various issues surrounding military life, current events, and history. The statements heard here are the opinion of its members and guests. These do not necessarily reflect the views of the Department of Defense and are not endorsed or sponsored in any way. Listener, viewer discretion advised.